Can you believe that even someone like Gene Hackman, yes, the Hollywood legend himself, is now caught up in a money mess? I mean, this guy hasn't been in a movie in nearly 20 years. He's been living a quiet, retired life. Painting, writing, just doing his own thing away from the spotlight. And suddenly, boom. His name's all over the headlines again, and it's not for a comeback role or a new book. Nope. It's for something way more unexpected. A legal demand involving his $80 million estate. Yeah, you heard that right. And here's the part that really makes you think. Don't we all assume that if we had millions of dollars, life would be set? Like, if I just had money, I wouldn't have to worry about anything. Right? Well, turns out that's not always how it works. Because even someone with a fortune like Gene Hackman's can find themselves facing a demand over alleged debt. And honestly, it's kind of eye-opening. So, what's going on? Who's making this claim? And how does something like this even happen to someone who's been out of the public eye for so long? Let's talk about it. Let's break down what this is all about and why it matters, not just for celebrities, but for all of us watching from the sidelines. Okay, let's back up a little. Gene Hackman, just in case you need a reminder, is an acting icon. He's won Oscars, he's starred in classics like The French Connection, Unforgiven, and The Royal Tenenbaums, and then back in 2004 he walked away from acting, just like that. No big announcement, no farewell tour. He simply stepped out of the spotlight and started living life on his own terms. He moved to New Mexico, started writing novels, spent time painting, stayed pretty quiet overall. No red carpets, no drama, just a peaceful life away from all the noise. And for years that's where he stayed. No scandals, no controversies, just peace. And that's what makes this new story so surprising. Because recently news broke that someone filed a demand against Hackman's estate. And this isn't some random tabloid rumor. It's a legal thing. A formal demand. And even though details are still coming out, it's clear that the claim is about money, alleged debt. And it's serious enough that people are talking. Now, here's where it gets a little confusing. When people hear state, they often assume the person has passed away. But let's be clear, Gene Hackman is still alive. He's 94 years old, and as far as we know, doing okay. But in legal terms, state doesn't always mean someone has died. It just means the collection of assets a person owns. That could be property, investments, anything of value. So, when someone files a claim against someone's estate, it basically means they're saying, hey, I believe this person owes me something, and I want to be paid out of what they own. So yeah, this isn't some after-death situation. This is someone taking action now, while Gene Hackman is very much alive, and trying to get a piece of what he has. Pretty wild, right? And this raises so many questions. First of all, can someone really do that? Like, can you just go file something against a famous actor's estate and say they owe you money? Well, yeah. If someone thinks you owe them money and they have evidence or a signed agreement, they can make a legal claim. It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. If the courts accept it, it moves forward. And that's exactly what seems to be happening here. Someone out there says Gene Hackman owes them money. We don't know all the details yet. Maybe it's an old business deal. Maybe it's something personal. But whatever it is, it's serious enough that it ended up in legal filings. And now, instead of enjoying quiet retirement, Gene Hackman's name is trending again. For reasons no one saw coming. Here's another question that comes up a lot when stories like this hit the news. But wait. Don't celebrities have enough money to just take care of these things? Like, if you've got d'other 80 million, can't you just write a check and be done with it? Well, not always. Because it's not just about having money. It's about what's owed and why. Sometimes it's not clear-cut. Maybe both sides disagree on the amount, or whether anything's owed at all. Legal battles like this can go on for a long time, months, sometimes even years, and during all that time there's stress, there's legal fees. There's the public watching and guessing. Even if you win, it's still exhausting. And honestly, that's probably the last thing someone like Gene Hackman wants right now. After spending decades working hard and then retiring quietly, the last thing you expect is a legal fight dragging your name back into the headlines. But here's the thing. And it's something most people don't think about: this could happen to anyone. You don't have to be famous. You don't need to have 80 million in the bank. If you've ever signed a contract, borrowed money, made a deal, or even just had a business relationship with someone. There's always a chance that things could get messy later. That's why estate planning is so important. And I know estate planning sounds like one of those boring things that only rich people do. But it's not. It's actually something that can protect you, no matter how much or how little you have. Think about it. You work your whole life, you save, maybe you buy a house. You've got a few things set aside for your kids or your partner. And then suddenly someone shows up claiming you owe them something from years ago. If you don't have your records in order, if you don't have someone managing your estate properly, that claim could turn into a real problem. And that's one of the big lessons here. Even someone as private and respected as Gene Hackman isn't immune. This situation is a reminder that no matter how peaceful life feels, things can resurface. Old debts, forgotten agreements, disputes you thought were over. So what can the rest of us do about it? Well, here are a few simple things that experts recommend, and they don't have to cost a fortune. First, keep your records. Don't throw away those old agreements or emails. Even if they seem outdated now, you never know when they might come in handy. Second, talk to someone about your estate, especially if you own property, have family, or just want peace of mind. A lawyer, a financial planner, even a trusted advisor. Just someone who can help you get your stuff in order. And third, don't assume that quiet equals safe. Just because things seem calm now doesn't mean a problem can't show up later. Life is full of surprises, right? Better to be ready than caught off guard. And look, this isn't just about money. It's about peace. It's about making sure the life you've worked for isn't disrupted by something that could have been avoided. That's why this Gene Hackman story is so fascinating, and honestly kind of important. It's not just celebrity gossip. It's a real life lesson in how unpredictable things can be, even for the most successful people. And when you really take a step back and think about it, that's what makes this story stay with you. It's not just some celebrity gossip about an old actor who hasn't been in the spotlight for years. It's not just about court papers or financial claims. It's something deeper than that. It's about how uncertain life can be. Even when it seems like everything should be secure. We often grow up thinking that once you have money, success, recognition, you're safe, that problems just fade away. That the struggles the rest of us face just don't touch people who've made it. But stories like this shake that idea, because here's Gene Hackman, an actor who's been respected, admired, and financially successful. He stepped away from the noise of Hollywood, chose a quiet life, and by all appearances had everything under control. And yet, even now, at 94 years old, things aren't as settled as we might imagine. And it really makes you pause for a second, doesn't it? It reminds you that no matter how much money you have, how long you've stayed out of drama, or how carefully you plan, life can still throw something unexpected your way. It can be an old business deal that comes back to haunt you. A contract you signed years ago. A disagreement that suddenly turns into a legal filing. Even when you're living quietly, minding your own business, things from the past can show up again, knocking on your door. And it's not just celebrities this happens to. It's people like us too. Regular people. Maybe you've had a moment where something you thought was settled suddenly popped up again. An unpaid bill. A forgotten loan. An argument that you thought was over years ago, but it somehow finds its way back. It's unsettling, right? That's why stories like this can feel personal, even if they involve someone famous, because they shine a light on how fragile life's sense of security can be. And how, even when you do everything right, there's no guarantee that the past will stay in the past. It makes you think about your own life, your own plans. Have you protected yourself well enough? Do you know where all your important papers are? Have you talked to someone about what should happen if something goes wrong? It's the kind of stuff most of us avoid. It feels boring, complicated, or even unnecessary. But it's also the kind of stuff that can make a huge difference when things take an unexpected turn. Let's be honest, most of us don't want to think about legal stuff or estate planning. We don't want to imagine someone coming after what we've worked for. But the truth is, we live in a world where that kind of thing happens. And it doesn't matter if you're worth an 80 million or 800. If there's any chance that someone could claim you owe them something, legally or financially, then it's worth being prepared. So, when a story like Gene Hackman's hits the news, it's not just a headline. It's a wake-up call. A reminder that maybe now's the time to look at the things we've been putting off. To make sure our finances are in order. That our agreements, past and present, are clear. That we know where we stand, and how to protect the life we're building. And you know what else this kind of story does? It gets people talking. About what they've learned. What they've gone through. About the moments when they thought everything was fine, until it wasn't. So I want to ask you something. And I really mean it. Has there ever been a time in your life when something unexpected made you look at things differently? Maybe a financial issue came up that you didn't see coming. Or a legal situation that taught you a hard lesson. Or maybe you've just learned something recently that completely changed how you handle your money, your time, or your future. If that sounds like you, don't be shy. Share it in the comments. Because trust me, someone out there is probably going through the same thing, and your story might be exactly what they need to hear. It could help someone feel less alone, or more prepared, or even just more hopeful. That's the power of community, of talking about things that matter, even if they're not flashy or exciting. Because those are often the things that hit the hardest. And if you've been enjoying this kind of deep dive content, where we don't just read the headline, but really explore what's behind it, then stick with us. There's so much more to come. More stories that take you behind the scenes of Hollywood, yes, but also into the heart of real life. The kind of life that's messy, surprising, sometimes unfair, but always worth understanding. There's a whole side of celebrity life that most people never get to see. The private struggles, the quiet decisions, the ways they try to protect themselves when the cameras are off. And those stories, they're not just about stars. They reflect what all of us go through in different ways. It's just more visible when it happens to someone famous. So if you're curious about what really goes on behind the scenes, beyond the glitz and glamour, then definitely check out the next video. We dig into more stories that didn't make the front page, but still say so much about how life works, about how unpredictable things can be, and about how, no matter who you are, you're never completely shielded from life's twists and turns. And hey, if you're still here, first of all, thank you. I really mean that. Your time matters, and the fact that you've spent it with us means a lot. If this video made you think, even just a little bit, consider hitting that like button. It helps more than you know. It tells the platform that you're interested in thoughtful stories, not just quick headlines. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. It's completely free, and it makes sure you don't miss the next story that could open your eyes. Or maybe even change your perspective a little. And if you tap that bell icon, you'll get notified whenever something new drops, so you'll always be in the loop. We're building a space here where we look at celebrity stories in a way that feels real, honest, human, because at the end of the day, these stories aren't just entertainment. They're lessons. They're mirrors. They're little reminders that the world isn't black and white, and neither are the people in it. Think about it. Gene Hackman didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't out there causing scandals or trying to get attention. He was living his life, quietly, peacefully, and still, something from the past found its way back into his present. That could happen to any of us. And maybe that's the most important part of all this. We often look at celebrities as people who are untouchable, protected, different. But the truth is, they face the same uncertainties we do. They have fears, regrets, moments when they feel like everything could fall apart. So let's keep that in mind. Not just when we hear stories like this, but in how we treat each other, in how we prepare for our own lives, in how we tell our stories and listen to others. Because we're all living with chapters we thought were closed. All of us. Even the people we think have it all figured out. And that's why we do what we do here. To pull back the curtain. To see the full picture. To understand that even in the world of fame and fortune, people are still just people. So thank you for being part of this conversation. For staying curious. For thinking a little deeper. And for helping us build a space where stories matter. Not just because they're juicy, but because they're real. And as always, take care of yourself. You never know when life might throw a surprise your way. But with the right mindset, and the right people around you, you'll be ready. See you in the next one.